Then, exhausted, the fish drift back downstream to the Danube itself. The alpine waters have transformed the Danube into a broad river, and now she passes into a new country and one of the most beautiful river valleys in the world, Austria's Wachau. This is where the Danube is at her most gentle. It's hard to believe such bright, exotic creatures can be at home so close to an icy mountain range. Bee-eaters and emerald lizards are usually only seen much further south. The secret of these animals' success is the exceptionally mild climate. The bee-eaters nest in the loess walls of the vineyards, and the gentle Wachau weather keeps them cool in summer. Loess is silt carried down from the Alps like the shingle and gravel. In spring, the entire Wachau bursts into flower. In the fall, the grapes glow, ready for harvesting. The Wachau has an international reputation for its wines. The Danube gives the steep terraced vineyards a special advantage. This is where cool, damp air from the northern forests flowing down the river meets dry, warm air moving up from the Hungarian plains. The mix creates the ideal climate for the grapes and the animals. The Wachau is the gateway to a city inextricably linked with the great river Danube, Vienna. As the river's biggest metropolis slowly stirs to life, nearly 2 million people get ready for a new day. And yet if you live here, you barely catch sight of the Danube. The waterway that flows through Vienna is man-made, the Danube Canal. Yet just a few kilometers from this hectic bustle, on the far side of the city, there's a completely different world. The Donauauen National Park. Here, the Danube is as wild as its South American counterpart, the Amazon. The national park is home to some of the most species-rich, dynamic habitats in Europe. This temperate jungle is a maze of sidearms and oxbows. Water rules in these woods. The life of the great reed warbler is largely hidden by the reeds. Here it builds its nest and feeds its young. And what goes in must come out. The little bittern move through the reeds with great skill. They avoid wet feet even when fishing. Their stripy plumage matches the reeds and makes them invisible to the fish below. Their chicks are hidden deep in the reed bed. The parents take great care when arriving or leaving the nest not to betray its position to predators. The Danube wetlands form a wilderness between the river and the forest. It's an amphibious world, always in a state of flux. Everything depends on the main stem of the Danube supplying the side channels with water. These oxbows are the most productive ecosystems in the riverine forest. But this watery paradise is under threat. Over many centuries, the Danube has meandered and spread a layer of gravel throughout the flooded forest. That gravel is critically important to all life here. East of Vienna, it's up to 60 meters thick, Europe's largest freshwater reservoir. But gradually, these backwaters are running dry. The cause? The Danube is digging itself deeper and deeper into its own bed. The water level in the gravel is falling with the drop in the river and cutting off the water supply to the oxbows. Here, east of Vienna, the Danube flows freely. Building up its natural sandy banks as it goes. But appearances are deceptive. To reach here, the river had to pass colossal dams. Ships and barges can pass through the locks, but the gravel and sand that the Danube drags with it from the Alps is left behind. And that's why the river is getting deeper. Scientists from Vienna's University of Natural Resources and the river authorities are investigating the status of the river downstream of the dam. How much gravel is the river transporting? They've discovered the river bed is in constant motion. The antenna has detected a signal. The receiver, combined with GPS, can pin down the precise source. The scientists are looking for real rarities, plastic stones. Each of these tracer pebbles has a unique signal. They're thrown into the water at predetermined points to check how and where the river's gravel is moving. The amazing discovery is that each pebble migrates about 3 kilometers a year. Doppler sonar can portray every centimeter of the riverbed. Combine this with information from the plastic pebbles, and there's enough data to make an exact 3D model of the empty Danube. Shingle and gravel bunch up into dune-like shapes traveling downriver. 800,000 tons a year is transported downstream in this one section of the Danube, and there's no new gravel to follow from upstream. The riverbed is deepening. This information has allowed the river's engineers to develop measures to stop the Danube digging itself ever deeper. They collect gravel downstream and release it upstream. – 100,000 tons of it every year. But this is only half the material needed. The fight against the deepening riverbed will never end. All they can do is get more efficient. Experiments are underway to add larger, heavier gravel to try to reduce the erosion. It's a never-ending task, but the creatures of the riverine forest depend on its success. Just after Bratislava is a barrier of concrete and steel that has proved highly controversial, the Gabčíkovo power station. Vienna's power stations caused the Danube between Vienna and Slovakia to drop 2 centimeters a year. But building this Leviathan destroyed many kilometers of precious wetlands. Here the waters are measured and divided, even for sport and leisure purposes. This is no longer a river, it's just water, channeled between artificial barriers. And underwater, the wildlife has changed too. The round goby is not a local fish. It's an alien species. But they've made themselves completely at home here.